Hello, welcome to our presentation on the third form curriculum. Hopefully you're watching this because either you or your son is joining us in the third form in September. If that's the case, congratulations on impeccable taste, and congratulations also for clicking on this and discovering, I hope, a bit more about the structure of the third form curriculum. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I will go through what subjects are in the third form, which are compulsory, which are optional, how the options work and how it all fits together. I'll also talk a little bit about our new skills curriculum, about which we're very proud. I probably won't, in the time I have enough time to answer all the questions that I'm sure you may have. So if there are things that you still want to find out after this presentation's finished, that's no problem at all. Please do get in contact with us. The best place is admissions, or you're very welcome to email me. I'm Tim Filtness, the Deputy Head Academic. And I'd also highlight that there is an FAQ document that will appear alongside this recording on the New Boys page on our website. And there's also a curriculum booklet too, which should help with any questions that you might have. The third form curriculum is predicated on four main aspects. First of all is the establishment of proactive and constructive habits of work. And these are built into the fabric of the curriculum, and they're intended to get the boys off to a purposeful and positive start. But more importantly, when done well, approaching work in the right way will make your son successful, not just in the third form, but also GCSE and sixth form, and then on in the world of university and work. So it's really important. Related to that, the third form curriculum it fosters 15 academic skills, and they're built into the fabric of what the boys study. I'll go through this in a subsequent slide, but it's a really important focal point of the third form curriculum, and I think something that makes the Sherborne curriculum fairly unique. Another area of difference, and again one I think that makes us successful, is that we build in choice as far as possible. We believe that boys do better when they're studying things that they enjoy, and therefore we give them free choice over half their curriculum from the moment that they join us. The fourth area is that our curriculum is differentiated, by which I mean that not everyone does the same thing. I've mentioned choice already, but within those subjects that the boys choose are different routes forwards, so that we are catering to the boys' individual strengths. And I mean this as much for those who require extra academic support as I do for those who are on scholarship or accelerated pathways. The curriculum is bespoke. It enables you at whatever your level to thrive and do the right approach, the right program of study for you. I mentioned skills in the previous slide, and as I said that there are 15. Here they are. Just drawing on some of them, problem solving, for example, is something that is incredibly important. And I don't just mean in an academic sphere. Being able to solve problems, being able to tackle a problem constructively is something that will make you successful in all walks of life. It's related to entrepreneurial skills, which is an area where Sherburnians typically excel. Leadership is similarly important, as is teamwork, and these things are built into the fabric of the curriculum. Other areas like digital literacy, awareness of global concerns are cutting edge issues, and we believe that the boys should be prepared for a world that's changing all the time. There are also skills that are related to working with others and working with oneself. So being safe and responsible, empathy, self-awareness, creativity, these are equally important aspects of the curriculum. And as you'll see in the next few slides, the subjects that we study take these skills and weave them throughout the first year in a synergistic and holistic fashion. So they are embedded in everything that we do. There are 5 skill areas within the curriculum. The first is identity and relationships. And you can see there the 5 skills that this strand comprises. Identity and relationships is taught within well-being, English, music, drama and art, and those subjects work together to build in these 5 skills during the course of the year. So it's very much that elements of the curriculum support each other in the development of those skills. The second area of the curriculum is innovation and critical thinking. And you can see from the Turing slide, this is something that's important to us. There are 4 skill areas built into this strand of the curriculum, and they are delivered by biology, chemistry, physics, and DT. The third skills area is the environment and sustainability. This unit is delivered by geography, and it focuses on an awareness of global concerns and an ability to draw conclusions. The fourth skill strand is digital literacy, and you can see that there are 6 areas that this comprises, and it's delivered by computer science and maths. The fifth and final skills area is languages, culture and society. There are 5 skills built into this unit, and it's delivered by our MFL and Classics department. So those were the skills areas. Now on to the curriculum. The curriculum is broadly divided into 2, the option subjects, which I'll go through in later slides, and the core. The core is 50% of the timetable, so that's 18 lessons a week, and those are dedicated to English, maths, science, wellbeing and worldviews, and tutor time. Wellbeing and worldviews I have a slide on later, so I'll come back to that. Tutor time is a period a week where your son has ring-fenced time with his tutor, and that will either be used in one-to-one or delivering a bespoke tutor program. And I'll just emphasise that the tutor time is in addition to assemblies and time with tutor in the house on the duty evenings and in and around school. So this is an extra on top of the large amount of support and help that your son already receives from his tutor. I'll also emphasise that science is taught separately throughout your son's time in the school. So separate biology, chemistry and physics lessons. In the third form, all the boys do the same course. So it doesn't matter whether your son is in set 1 or set 6, he will be studying the same science programme as everyone else. We do differentiate into dual and triple programmes, but the decision as to whether your son will take triple award or dual award is made at the beginning of the 4th form, and therefore not something I will be talking about now. We also offer a bespoke English curriculum. So again, all the boys in the 3rd form do the same material in their 3rd form English classes, whether they're in set 1 or in set 4. There are separate English pathways as part of our differentiated curriculum. There's an accelerated pathway that will do both English Lit and English Language together in lessons. There's a pathway that will just do English Language only, and there's a pathway that will do Language and Literature but split across more lessons. So there are different approaches to this, but in the 3rd form all the boys do the same programme of study. So they have a year really before we make a decision as to which pathway they will follow to GCSE. Similarly with maths, all boys take maths GCSE. The GCSE starts from the word go. Some boys in the top set may take additional maths, but every single pupil, irregardless of set, will do the normal maths GCSE throughout their first 3 years in school. So again, it doesn't matter whether your son's in the top set or set 6. As I mentioned earlier on, all boys study wellbeing and worldviews. All boys study wellbeing and worldviews as part of the 3rd form core curriculum. It's a unique and exciting aspect of what we do. There are 2 strands to wellbeing and worldviews. The first is the wellbeing element, which looks at citizenship, relationships, careers, finances, etc. The second is the worldviews aspect, which is loosely based on a theology curriculum, but includes elements of philosophy, inclusion, diversity, identity, etc. The curriculum also brings in contemporary ethical and global issues. So, for example, the war in Ukraine is something that the boys will look at during the course of their study. It's really important that the boys have their eyes open to what's going on around them. In sleepy Dorset, it's easy to assume that everything goes at that pace and everything is as closeted and protected as we are fortunate enough to enjoy. So the Wellbeing and Worldviews course shows the boys exactly what's happening around the globe, and it's really important that they connect with that. There's also a strong SMSC element to the curriculum, so the boys are encouraged to reflect on spirituality and how that diversifies around the globe. They're encouraged to look at various moral and religious frameworks so that they can understand the principles of how society works, and their own integrity too. We, with that, encourage the boys to respect other people, and that goes as much for any of the protected characteristics as it does for other aspects of their individuality. So Wellbeing and Worldviews is not only interesting and relevant, but it's also really important. Complementing the core are the options, and they take up 50% of the timetable. Your son has complete free choice over which options he wishes to do. We do not put strings on the options choices. We do encourage the boys to pick a modern foreign language, but that's it. It's an encouragement. There are no requirements over the options. So your son can do the things that he enjoys and hopefully do the things, therefore, that he will do well in. There are 12 subjects to choose from, and we ask that your son chooses 5. So the emphasis here is on quality of provision, having the time to do 5 subjects well, not quantity. So we don't believe that doing hundreds and hundreds of subjects in the third form is in your son's best interests. So 5 options, but taking the time to do those really well. With languages as an exception, your son does not have to take the subjects in the third form that he wants to study for GCSE. So for example, if your son wants to do DT for GCSE, he does not have to take it in the third form, which I hope takes some of the pressure off the decision-making process. Languages, as I've said, are an exception. So if your son wants to do, say, for example, French GCSE, he would need to pick French in the third form. The same is true for Latin and the other European languages. You can pick 4 options and learning support, and I'll show you that when I present the blocking diagram later on. There is a slide on learning support, but if your son is going to look at taking learning support, I would strongly recommend that he picked 4 subjects and learning support, which would take the space of the 5th, rather than trying to squeeze learning support in at lunchtimes and after school. I'm afraid he can't take 6 options. That's because all the lessons are occupied with 5, literally 36 lessons full with 5 options. So there aren't any spaces to squeeze in an extra one. Related to that as well, you can't do 2 subjects and then choose one further down the line because there isn't enough space. The choices are made using a blocking system, and I will show you that next. So here is the blocking diagram. Your son needs to pick one thing from each block. He'll also be asked to pick a reserve as well. Now you'll notice that the same subjects appear in multiple blocks. Geography, for example, is in block 1 and 3 and 4 and 5. History, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. So it should be really easy to fit your son's choices into that blocking diagram. We've tested this a lot and not managed to find any combinations that don't fit. However, if you do, my apologies if you do, but if you do, please let us know, and we'll have another look. It's really important that the boys get what they've chosen. So hypothetically, if that does happen, please tell us, and we'll go away and look at the blocking diagram again. Triple language doesn't feature in here. If your son is interested in taking triple language, please let him choose German and Spanish, and we'll fit the French bits in off timetable. It's a bespoke arrangement for our best linguists, and it really is that. You're doing 3 subjects for the price of 2. So it's only open to our very best linguists. You'll be asked to make your choices via an online form. The link will be available on the New Boys page of the website. You can fill the form in multiple times. It does make a record of each new time, so I'd ask you to try to get it right first time. But if you do need to fill it in subsequently to refresh your choices, you can do it that way if you need to. So this slide is about making good choices. There are really three things that we encourage the boys to think about when they're making choices. The first is, will they enjoy the subject? That's by far and away the most important point. So pick the things you enjoy, boys. Secondly, are you good at it? Now, slight pinch of salt with this, because sometimes in prep schools, the subject isn't exactly the same as it is in the senior school. But generally speaking, you'll know if, for example, you're good at writing essay subjects, or you're good at languages, or you're good with creative subjects. So that can be quite a helpful steer. And thirdly, how likely are you to study it for GCSE? Now, I mentioned earlier that you don't need to do the subjects that you want to do for GCSE in the third form, with languages as an exception. But generally, it's a good idea to. They make a strong platform for what you're going to be doing in future years. So it does make some sense to study things in the third form that you're likely to continue with further up the school. It is definitely the case, and this is across many, many years of experience, that boys work harder at things that they enjoy. And if they're working hard at them, they're going to be successful. So that is the reason why we ask boys to think carefully about doing the things that they enjoy. It's fine to pick something that you or your son hasn't done before. Latin is an example. We do an ab initio for beginners Latin course. So it's absolutely fine to pick something like that if you've not studied it before. French is the only exception. So if you've not studied French before at all, please don't pick French as your language. If you're going to do a language, pick something else instead. German and Spanish, fine for beginners. Please do be aware that subjects have a limited capacity, so we are only able to offer, for example, 4 DT sets. That's the maximum number we can fit into the workshop in the timetable. And that some subjects will fill up quickly. It's the reason we ask you to make a reserve. So please just be aware of that. And there are some circumstances where boys can change subject midway through the year, so it's not a blanket no on that. But generally speaking, when the boys make their choices, we're asking them to keep those choices for the whole year. So boys, if you're listening, we're not going to let you switch halfway through the year. So that's another reason to spend some time thinking very carefully now about whether or not you're going to pick that subject or not. So how do we choose options? Well, there's a page on the website, the New Boys page on the website, with a form that looks like this. It's absolutely intuitive. You click on it, you fill it in, you press submit. Very easy. I mentioned LS earlier on. Our LS team is very well qualified and very experienced. They are excellent at what they do. Lots of boys have LS in the school, and if your son has benefited from LS previously, or if we feel that it's something, or you feel that it's something that he would benefit from at Sherborne, please do get in contact with us. It's perfectly normal. As I said, lots of boys have LS. Usually boys will pick one fewer option. So instead of 5 options, they'll pick 4, and they'll have the space that frees up for learning support. You don't have to do it that way. You can pick 5 options, and then we'll try and squeeze the LS lessons in the at lunchtimes and after school. But it definitely works best where they're in timetabled space. So I would encourage you, if that's your son, to pick just 4 options with LS as the 5th. You'll have noticed in the blocking diagram that learning support is available in all the columns, so you can pick it as an option. Most boys who have LS support have either 1 or sometimes 2 one-to-one sessions each week. So it's a significant provision, and that harks back to my point about needing some space to fit it in. LS lessons are bespoke. They're one-to-one, and the teachers will use the sessions for whatever is the right thing to focus on for your son. Often study skills are part of it, or organisational skills, decoding questions, writing frameworks to help put answers together, strategies, or just specific help with specific subjects. English and maths and science are quite common. So we will use the lessons for whatever is right for your son. Please be aware that LS lessons are chargeable. They're not included with the fee bills. So that's something to be aware of. And I mentioned assessments earlier on. All the LS team are qualified assessors. We're very fortunate in that respect. So we can do in-house assessments and JCQ approved assessments. So if your son is going to make an access arrangement, so for example, extra time in exams or the use of a laptop, we can do all the assessments that your son would need in-house. Again, those are chargeable, but they are significantly cheaper than an educational psychologist would charge. So you get a much better deal from doing it in-house than you would otherwise. So I've come to the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you found it useful. If you do have questions, please remember that there's an accompanying FAQ document which goes through, I think, 16 different areas in which questions are common. And so you may well find the answer to your question if you have one there. I'd also point out the third form curriculum booklet, which goes through the same material that I've covered, again, in more detail. It also includes all the contacts of the heads of department. So if you have a subject specific question, that can be quite a useful place to go. If you do have a question though, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Please do drop us an email. I've put admissions email address there, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And that remains for me to say thank you. We are really looking forward to seeing your son in September, and I hope he enjoys his time with us. It's an exciting place to be. I hope I've given you a sense